What's up guys, it's Zero here. Where is Call of Duty Ghosts 2? Let's talk about it. Call of Duty Ghosts isn't a perfect game. No game is perfect. Through its flaws was something really special though. From the campaign to the multiplayer, with the addition of Extinction, Call of Duty Ghosts brought compelling ideas to the table that could act as building blocks for a sequel. In order to look to the future, we have to look at what was Call of Duty Ghosts.
We're not gonna die here, come on! It's jammed! Okay, 3, 2, 1, push!
In order for us to talk about Call of Duty Ghosts, we have to break down each individual component to the game. The first component I want to talk about is the campaign of Call of Duty Ghosts. Ever since I started playing Call of Duty back with COD 4, I always played the campaign before jumping into the multiplayer or any co-op experiences. The reason for this is because I always wanted to get a feel for the mechanics, the gameplay, how the game felt, and the story that the developer was trying to build. Look no further than the campaign, which gives you all of those different things, from not only the story but of course the gameplay, mechanics, the different weapons you're going to be using. And with all those components put together in the campaign, it really can help jumpstart your career and your journey of playing the game.
You hear that? Someone's out there. Wait for Riley. If he attacks a target, shoot to kill. Drop these guys.
So the Call of Duty Ghosts campaign takes place in 2014 during the Tel Aviv War in the Middle East. An oil crisis occurs, causing devastation for numerous nations, including the United States and its NATO allies. As a result of the oil crisis, an authoritative military dictatorship known as the Federation of the Americas is established in South America, with its founding members being Venezuela, Chile, Argentina, and Brazil. Soon the Federation intimidates the remaining South American countries into officially uniting the entire continent under its rule. 3 years later, in 2017, U.S. Army officer Elias Walker tells his teenage sons Hesh and Logan the legend of how the Ghosts, an elite coalition of all U.S. Special Operations units, first appeared. Meanwhile, in space, the Federation hijacks the Orbital Defense Initiative, an orbital superweapon that consists of a network of satellites that utilize kinetic bombardment. The Federation uses it to destroy several cities in the southwestern United States. U.S. Air Force astronauts Baker and Mosley sacrifice themselves to self-destruct the space station and prevent Odin from launching other payloads further inland. The Walker family narrowly escapes the destruction of San Diego. 10 years later, the Federation has expanded even further by invading and occupying Central America, the Caribbean, and Mexico. Along with this, the war between the United States and the Federation has been a bloody stalemate along a front that comprises the destroyed cities, which has become a war of attrition as more Federation forces attempt to break the front lines. However, the US stands its ground, fighting near the former United States-Mexico border. Hesh and Logan are part of an Army special unit under the command of Elias and are accompanied by Riley, their loyal military-trained German Shepherd. During a mission into no man's land, they spot Federation agent Gabriel Rourke interrogating Ghost member Ajax. The brothers meet and join Ghost members Thomas Merrick and Keegan Russ in an attempt to rescue Ajax, but he's killed. The brothers return to Santa Monica, California, where US forces hold out against a Federation assault and reunite with their father, who reveals himself as the leader of the Ghosts.
Dad, this whole time you were one of them. You're Ghost.
Try the Ghost. That's your commanding officer.
You boys have no idea how hard this was for me. But once I make a choice, there's no turning back.
Recruiting his sons into the Ghosts, Elias tells them During the Federation's expansion into South America in 2015, the Venezuelan Armed Forces formal leader, General Diego Almagro, ordered all American-born citizens in Federation territory to be imprisoned or executed. Because of this, Rourke, formerly the leader of the Ghosts, convinced the US government to send him and Elias on a military operation in the Federation's capital of Caracas to assassinate the general. Despite being successful in killing Almagro, Elias was forced to abandon Rourke to save himself and his other squad mates.
What are we doing here, Elias? We can't save him!
Elias!
We're too heavy! You gotta let him go!
The Federation soon captured Rourke and brainwashed him into becoming a Federation commander. The Ghosts assault Rourke's base and capture him, but Federation forces destroy their plane and rescue him. The team lands in the Yucatan Peninsula, where they witness the launch of mysterious Federation missile. The Ghosts infiltrate a Federation base in Andes and discover plans to create a new superweapon. Constructing a counterattack, the Ghosts make significant gains against the Federation by destroying their Atlas oil platform in Antarctica and a sinking destroyer guarding a Federation factory in the port of Rio de Janeiro. The team then breaks into the factory and discovers that the Federation reverse-engineered Odin into their own orbital bombardment system named Loki. After destroying the factory, the Ghosts regroup at a safe house in Las Vegas, but are captured by Rourke, who executes Elias before the Ghosts escape from Federation forces.
I'm the man that hunts them and sends them back to the other side.
In a last-ditch effort, the US Navy pulls all its remaining forces, including its last aircraft carrier, USS Liberator, in the synchronized all-out assault against the Loki space station. Hesh and Logan launch a missile to destroy the Federation Space Center in the Atacama Desert, while forces in US Space Force take over the Federation Space Station. They seize control of Loki and decimate the Federation military by turning their weapons on them. Hesh and Logan then disobey Merrick's orders and pursue Rourke to avenge their father. Despite being shot by Logan and left to drown, Rourke survives and captures Logan, wanting to brainwash him into becoming a Federation agent.
Logan! Logan!
The Call of Duty Ghosts campaign had a little bit of everything. I mean, obviously we were down on the ground, we were up in the air in space. There were so many really interesting and intriguing things about the Call of Duty Ghosts campaign from beginning to very end. I've said this a number of times on the YouTube channel that the Call of Duty Ghosts campaign is one of, if not the greatest Call of Duty campaign of all time. I personally believe that it's definitely within the top 3. I think Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019's campaign was something absolutely out of this world. But Call of Duty Ghosts was definitely one of the best campaigns in the entire franchise, and I will say about the Call of Duty Ghosts campaign that it is undeniably, in my opinion, the biggest cliffhanger of all the campaigns ever put together in Call of Duty's history. That cliffhanger at the end of Call of Duty Ghosts left us wondering what happens next and where could this story be going. From the massive set pieces to all of the incredible explosions and all of the insane cinematics that happen within the campaign, Call of Duty Ghosts campaign was something very special. From the campaign alone, I believe that a Call of Duty Ghosts 2 should have been greenlit and should have been something that was happening and already happened at this current point in time. But we definitely have to look deeper before really giving a conclusion on whether or not a Call of Duty Ghosts 2 should have been made and why it hasn't been made at this point. When we arrive to the multiplayer mode in Call of Duty Ghosts features changes from previous Call of Duty games as some new mechanics have been added to it. Maps now have areas that can be altered or destroyed. There is a nuke-like killstreak reward, the Chem Strike. The player can get the Odin killstreak by either getting a certain amount of kills or by killing the top player of the other team and then completing various challenges after picking up a blue briefcase that is dropped. The sniper rifle scopes also have new dual render technology, allowing the player to see around the outside of the scope when zoomed in. On October 3rd, a new multiplayer type was revealed called squads. This features a squad that the player can build, and the player can face other squads around the world. The player squad can be leveled up and will act like a true individual: Octane, Prison Break, Tremor, Freight, Stormfront, Siege, Warhawk, Sovereign, Overlord, Flooded, Strike Zone, Whiteout, Stonehaven, and Chasm. This mode can be played either solo or with other players, including friends. A squad consists of 10 different customizable characters. Squads can be utilized in unique game modes involving AI-controlled enemies and AI-controlled squad mates. The game modes include Squad Assault, Safeguard, Safeguard Infinite, Squad vs. Squad, and War Game. All of these modes can be played while online or offline. I didn't play a lot of squads when Call of Duty Ghosts came out. I definitely dabbed in there, but I'm really glad that Infinity Ward made squads. For a lot of people who, were really interested in a game mode like this, playing it, a lot of people enjoyed it in a major way. Call of Duty Ghosts features several staple multiplayer game modes while introducing several new types, including Search and Rescue, Gun Game, Cranked, Free-for-all, Team Deathmatch, Domination, Team Tactical, Kill Confirmed, Infected, Blitz, Hunted Free-for-all, Ground War, and Drop Zone. I enjoyed a number of these different game modes in Call of Duty Ghosts, especially game modes like Search and Rescue, Cranked, and even, of course, the classics like Search and Destroy. Where I think things went a little bit awry when it came to Call of Duty Ghosts multiplayer was more so the maps. Sure, there were some great, Call of Duty Ghosts maps that were put into the fray, but I think a lot of them overall, people did not really respond well to a lot of the maps within the game. On top of that, the gameplay mechanics a lot of people did not like either. The very brown or granulated type of style was really gritty for some people, but a lot of others did not like this take on Call of Duty, where we had games like Call of Duty Black Ops 2, where it had very vibrant colors. It feels like a lot of people in the Call of Duty community really wanted, Activision and Infinity Ward and Treyarch to go back to the roots of, Black Ops 2 or Modern Warfare 2, which, of course, those two games were incredibly popular amongst players. I felt that the Call of Duty esports scene and the Call of Duty World League with Call of Duty Ghosts was pretty good overall, but it was definitely a step down from other years in the past. Some players loved the feel. I think a lot of people did not like the feel of the game. And with Call of Duty Ghosts splitting the community because a lot of people were still playing on the Xbox 360, and of course the new gen consoles had come out, it really split up the community between Xbox 360 and Xbox One. What I think a lot of us can agree on is that Infinity Ward had a blueprint and a roadmap of what Call of Duty Ghosts 2 could be. They could realize, of course, what they did right, what they did wrong, and what they could do better moving forward in a Call of Duty Ghosts 2 multiplayer experience. And then we get to Extinction. Extinction is a 4-player co-op mode which pits the players against various types of aliens in a base defending survival style map. The main goal is usually to destroy all of the cryptid hives scattered across the map. Players choose from 4 different class types with unique traits and customizable loadouts. The player can level up their classes, unlocking more weapons and equipment for their loadouts. This mode is unlocked by finishing the first level of the campaign. Extinction had 5 different maps: Point of Contact, Nightfall, Mayday, Awakening, and Exodus. What I loved about Extinction was not only was it just a different take from, Call of Duty Zombies, it was going from zombies to aliens, but on top of all of that, within Extinction, you could actually beat it. And I thought that this was a really interesting take, which Call of Duty Zombies up to that point in time felt very repetitive, at least for myself, where you would go up against those waves and waves of zombies, you'd see how far you could go, and then it would all restart. Whereas in Extinction, you could actually beat the game mode. I feel feel like, once again, they have the building blocks of what they could have done in Call of Duty Ghosts 2 with an Extinction 2.0. That being, of course, having the classic Extinction mode, which of course you could actually beat, and then add other modes to Extinction 2.0 where it would be more of like a classic zombies where you just go up against waves and waves of aliens, see how far you can go, and then once you die, it all restarts. Don't get me wrong, Call of Duty Zombies is awesome, and especially some of the more recent updates and changes that they've made to Call of Duty Zombies, I absolutely love the experience at this point, but Extinction was really neat because going up against those aliens, being able to beat the game mode was something really special to me, and I would love to see an Extinction 2.0 in Call of Duty Ghosts 2. So with all of those things being said of each component of Call of Duty Ghosts, why haven't we gotten a Call of Duty Ghosts 2? For starters, Infinity Ward had the challenge of getting fans invested in a new universe and fresh new characters, which was an uphill battle given the popularity of Modern Warfare and figures like Captain Price. The decision to feature a group called the Ghosts that had no relation to Modern Warfare 2's Simon Riley was odd, and the silent protagonist Logan proved hard to connect to. Alongside some stiff voice acting from the members of the Ghosts and a predictable story, the campaign felt like a step back from Call of Duty Black Ops 2's creative single-player mode. In that campaign, players could make choices that led to certain characters dying and major scenes playing out differently. Different endings could be acquired, and some side missions were able to be completed in hopes of getting a better conclusion to the story. I will say, having a Call of Duty Ghosts title that had nothing to do with Simon Riley was a really tough pill to swallow. Once again though, I feel that Infinity Ward had the building blocks of what they could be building up to. And adding Simon Riley to Call of Duty Ghosts 2, how they could do this is hard to say, but I believe that they could absolutely integrate it in one way, shape, or form, that everything could essentially come full circle. So obviously multiplayer has and always will be the most important aspect of the series. Unfortunately, Call of Duty Ghosts' multiplayer component had some major flaws. A majority of the maps were weak and far too large, which is a death sentence for a Call of Duty game. Stonehaven, for example, was a massive play space that felt hugely unfocused, lacking a 3-lane style and feeling like a massive bit of land where players ran around aimlessly. Other issues were present in Call of Duty Ghosts' multiplayer, such as how UAVs were used. The SATCOMs were the game's version of UAVs, and they came in the form of easily destructible devices that had to be set on the ground. This kill streak only provided the full UAV effects if multiple were placed on the map at the same time, making a single SATCOM pointless. This ultimately made the streak frustrating to use, with it feeling like an overcomplication of a classic Call of Duty feature. There was also the concept of field orders, an odd mechanic that rewarded even the most average players with game-changing streaks like the Chem Strike for doing simple things like teabagging a dead enemy. Some of the rewards were silly too, like becoming Michael Myers or the Predator. Considering that some players are against overly colorful outfits in military setting, it is no surprise that this more extreme level of goofiness rubbed a few players the wrong way. Other issues included overpowered weapons like the Honey Badger and an overly gray color palette, with the latter leading to a game that felt like it was lacking personality. Are these fixable issues though, guys? Absolutely. It's absolutely something that Infinity Ward, Activision, Treyarch, all of these different components to the overarching franchise of Call of Duty, things that they can improve upon in a future sequel. And although I loved Extinction mode for what it was, Call of Duty Ghosts following Black Ops 2 meant that it had to live up to the game's Zombies mode, which is widely regarded as one of the best the series has ever seen. While it got off to a rocky start with Transit, Mob of the Dead, Buried, and Origins were all beloved maps and helped create a stellar DLC season. Even though Call of Duty Ghosts was made by Infinity Ward and non-Treyarch Zombies modes rarely work out, Extinction, playing more like Zombies, might have helped it find a bit more success. Unfortunately though, the mode was solid and quite replayable due to its teeth system and different classes. It simply released at the wrong time and failed to maintain a large audience. The bottom line is this, guys. If you want a Call of Duty Ghosts 2 made, if we all want this game to have a continuation from an incredible campaign mode all the way to, a multiplayer experience that can be improved upon, all the way to a Zombies-esque mode in the form of Extinction, you have something that you could really build upon in the future. What it comes down to is us as the community. If you want a Call of Duty Ghosts 2 made, you need to be the one that's reaching out to the developers. We need to be voicing our opinion, whether it's on Reddit, on social media, all these different platforms. We have the ability to make our voices heard. There was a series that people believed was never going to return, and that was a series in the form of Dead Space. Dead Space had 3 games made, and then we never got a continuation, never had a remake, anything like this for years upon years. But the community kept on pushing this, whether it was in forums, on social media, that we wanted a Dead Space 4 or just a return to the Dead Space universe. And then after all of those years, Dead Space finally made a return in the form of a Dead Space remake, which was an astounding success for the developers. And now I believe that Dead Space is going to have continuations into the future. The moral of that story is that never give up. If there is a game that you want to see a continuation of, our voices mean more than you might think. So let's never give up the fight, and let's make sure that Call of Duty Ghosts 2 happens.